Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Shotara Shri Srimad Bhakti Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Eighth Canto, Withdrawal of the Cosmic Creations, Chapter 12, Mohini Murti bewilders Lord Shiva, Text 6. Please repeat after me. Tavaiva Sharanam Bojam Shayas Kama Nirashishaha Visradbayataha Sangam Munaya Samupasate Tavaiva Charanam Bojam Shreyas Kama Nirashishaha what is it? How do you say that? Visrajo Bayata Sangam Munaya Samupasate Vaiva Charanambojam Shayaskama Nirashasaha Visvajapayata Sangam Munaya Samupasate Tavaiva Charanambojam Shayaskama Nirashasaha Visvajapayata Sangam Munaya Samupasate Okay. Tava, your. Eva, indeed. Chadana ambujam, lotus feet. Shayaha, kamaha, persons desiring the ultimate auspiciousness, the ultimate goal of life. Yirashishaha, without material desire. Visraja, giving up. Ubayataha, in this life and the next. Sangam, attachment. Muniyaha, great sages. Samupasate, worship. Translation: pure devotees, or greatly saintly persons who desire to achieve the highest goal in life and who are completely free from all material desires for sense gratification, engage constantly in the transcendental service of your lotus feet. Purport: one is in the material world when he thinks, I am this body, and everything with reference to my body is mine. Ato griha chetra sutapta vitar janasya moho yamahamameti. This is the symptom of material life. In the materialistic conception of life, one thinks, this is my house, this is my land, this is my family, this is my state, and so on. But those who are muniyaha, saintly persons, fallen in the footsteps of Narada Muni, simply engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord without any personal desire for sense gratification. Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karmanya avritam. Either in this life or in the next, the only concern of such saintly devotees is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, they are also absolute because they have no other desires. Being freed from the dualities of material desire, they are called Shreyaskamaha. In other words, they are not concerned with dharma, religiosity, artha, economic development, or kama, sense gratification. The only concern of such devotees is moksha, liberation. This moksha does not refer to becoming one with the Supreme like the Mayavadi philosophers. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained that real moksha means taking shelter of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead. The Lord clearly explained this fact while instructing Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya wanted to correct the word mukti pade in Srimad Bhagavatam. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu informed him that there's no need to correct any word in Srimad Bhagavatam. He explained that mukti pade refers to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who offers mukti and is therefore called Mukunda. A pure devotee is not concerned with material things. He is not concerned with religiosity, economic development, or sense gratification. He is interested only in serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Om Gyanatimarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulan Maditamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Makun Kadirivachalam Pangam Langai Tegirim Yakipatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitaranam Vanchakapdari Vishtakripa Sindhu Bevachapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation once again. Pure devotees or great saintly persons who desire to achieve the highest goal in life and who are completely free from all material desires for sense gratification engage constantly in the transcendental service of your lotus feet. So Lord Shiva is praying to Vishnu or Krishna and glorifying him with different prayers. And we will see the pastime of the unique and interesting pastime of Mohini Murti bewildering Lord Shiva. It will manifest more and more and to the point of completion in this chapter. So when we talk about being in the material world or being in the spiritual world, Srila Prabhupada makes the point in the purport that being in the material world means having a particular mentality, and which the Srimad Bhagavatam coins as a materialistic mentality or a wrong mentality. And the mentality that's being described in this particular in this purport, Ato Griha Chaitra Sutapta Vitar Janasya Moha Yamahamameti, that a conditioned soul thinks that they're their body and that everything in relation to their body is theirs, belongs to them. This is the materialistic conception of life. And then he elaborates, this is a verse, getting this from, that a person thinks this is my house, this is my land, this is my family, this is my state. Everything's mine. And they're failing to see that actually everything belongs to Krishna. Bhaktaram yagatapasam sarvalokam maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutam gatramam shantam richati. They're forgetting that Krishna is the supreme friend, Krishna is the supreme proprietor, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. And therefore, according to Krishna and the Bhagavad Gita, they cannot have any peace. And they'll never have any peace. They're not following the peace formula. Srila Prabhupada, he said that he coined this verse as the peace formula. Bhaktaram Yagatapasam Sarvalokamaheshwaram. How can one be happy if they're an illusion? It's not possible. How can one experience true, the true nature of joy, or the true nature of happiness if they're not situated in reality, if they're an illusion? Now, of course, when we think about this nowadays, people think, "Oh, this is my house." Amongst some people, it's easier to own a house due to their income. But for a lot of people nowadays, at least in America, it's difficult. I mean, how many people absolutely own their house? Yeah, Mahaprabhu's mercy in Kali Yuga. How many people own their house? They're paying mortgage. If they don't pay mortgage, then get out, kicked out. What about, this is my land? It's a similar thing. Again, some people own land, but it's it could be it's becoming less and less common, I guess, because everybody else bought it up. Like New York City, Srila Prabhupada said, if I pass away in New York City, you could bury me on the rooftop. He said, because there's no land anywhere. So land or family matters. Again, this isn't just absolute statements here, but family is becoming more and more difficult to have a happy family life. So many problems may arise in family life. What are you laughing about, Suresh? Are you agreeing? No? You're not agreeing? You have happy family life? Yeah. And this is my state. Or this is my country. People, since the beginning of this country, I'm sure people have been dissatisfied with how things are going. Whatever, if you want to talk about sides, taking sides, whatever side one may feel themselves to be on, or leaning towards, or whatever, everyone's always dissatisfied about something. There's never full satisfaction for any particular party, or any members of any particular party. So in this way it becomes, it seems like it would become more complicated to be attached. But that's not the case. We still see people are very attached. Even though they may not own a house or land, or even though their family might be a mess, and even though their state or country might be a mess, still people are attached. It's amazing. Just see the power of illusion. You could imagine if you had a beautiful house that was yours, and beautiful land that was yours, and a beautiful family, loving, caring, together, respectful, cultured, no problems, and a country just free of any, it's hard to imagine all of this, but yeah, free from any problems. You can imagine how difficult it would be not to be attached to that. And when we talk about Vedic times and so on, that is what people were dealing with, a very happy situation. So you can imagine how difficult it would be not to be attached to that. But even, again, when things are not so together, still people are attached. It's amazing. Now, when we talk about these different attachments, house, land, family, country, and so on, it is not that a devotee does not have these things or doesn't mix with these things. A devotee does. Many devotees do. But the scripture is just telling us we need to be careful. Like when you're dealing with fire, you have to be very careful. It doesn't necessarily mean, oh, fire is dangerous, don't deal with it. It just means be careful. Fire is dangerous. Fire could help cook all types of nice offerings to offer to Krishna and then for the devotees to have, honor. And fire could also burn everything down, burn the house down, take people's lives, and so on. So for those non-brahmacharis or non-sannyasis, they will deal with these things more. Of course, brahmacharis and sannyasis, but they will deal with these things more. They will be very involved with these things: land, house, family, and so on. But there is a way to deal with them, and that one doesn't become bewildered. It is possible. Do you believe me? Who believes me? Sankarshan's not buying me. Okay, you could stay in the ashram then. That was a trick. The brahmacharis who don't believe me, okay, stay in the ashram. So those are things that people dealing with family, that people in family life have to deal with. Brahmacharis, sannyasis, they don't have to deal with that, or they shouldn't deal with that. But brahmacharis and sannyasis, there might be other attachments, or you could say the threat of attachment to this world. Like, I am a brahmachari, becoming too attached to that identity, because ultimately it's a false identity. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I'm not a brahmachari, I'm not a grihastha, I'm not a vanaprastha, I'm not a sannyasi, I'm not a brahmin, I'm not a shudra, I'm not a vaishya, I'm not any of these things, but I am a eternal servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. Or a sannyasi, think I am a sannyasi. It's a temporary position meant for service. So a brahmachari sannyasi, again, they don't have to deal with, being attached to a house. I mean, of course, they could say they could be attached to a temple. That's another thing. Brahmacharis or sannyasis shouldn't be attached to a particular temple. So, anyways, there's a number of different things a brahmachari or sannyasi could be attached to. And generally, brahmacharis and sannyasis, because they are not getting the gratification of land and house and family and state and all that type of good stuff, if they don't find their gratification or their, we could say gratification, Padyavali talks about that in some language. If they don't find their gratification in Krishna consciousness to a satisfying degree, then they're forced to find their gratification in Gramya Katha. What is Gramya Katha? Gramya Katha means village talk, or gossiping. Gossiping, fault finding, Gramya Katha. Raghunath Das Goswami says he says that Gramya Katha na shunebe, and he gives a whole description of how a renunciate should operate. Free from gossip, free from fault finding, free from village talk, wearing simple clothing, eating simply. What else? Eating simply, living simply, dressing simply, and engaging themselves in the worship of Radha and Krishna, chanting the holy names, engaged in the worship of Radha and Krishna. So this is the particular method that Raghunath Das Goswami gives. So whoever we are, we have to be careful. Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karmanyavritam. That our goal is pure devotional service. Our goal is not, say, religiosity in the mundane sense, economic development, kama, sense gratification, and even moksha, as many people how many people think of moksha, is also not our goal. Our goal is not moksha at all. Our goal is pleasing Krishna. But generally, when we talk about moksha, this moksha doesn't refer. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that the only concern of such devotees is moksha, liberation. And he qualifies this. This moksha does not refer to becoming one with the Supreme like the Mayavadi philosophers. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained that real moksha means taking shelter of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead. The Lord clearly explained this fact while instructing Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya wanted to correct the word mukti pade in Srimad Bhagavatam, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu informed him that there's no need to correct any word in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas and he continued to Puri, Jagannath Puri, and when he arrived there, he saw Lord Jagannath, his Lord, and when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Lord Jagannath, he just fainted in transcendental ecstasy. He just right there, right under the temple floor. And some of the guards are thinking, oh, is this person some type of sahaji, or some type of cheap devotee, or let's drag him out, let's whatever, get him out of here. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he came and he analyzed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's and they put a little cotton swab by his nose, and they saw that he was still slightly breathing. And analyzing him, he was seeing this person's experiencing transcendental ecstasy. So he brought him to his home. And at his home, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's home, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then began to instruct Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In his mind, out of compassion, because he was thinking, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's such a young man. Not only that, but he's he's Krishna, so you can imagine how attractive he is. And he's such a young man, he takes sannyas, how is he ever going to maintain his sannyas? So he instructed him for 7 days. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wasn't saying anything. He was just listening. And then eventually Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he became a little disturbed. He said, why is he just sitting there? He's not saying anything. And then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, are you understanding everything properly? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, yes, I am, but you're covering the true meaning of the Vedanta Sutra. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went on to explain things properly, which is a chapter in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 6 of Madhya Lila, the liberation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And he explains the Atma Rama verse. Anyone remember how many different times? At least in this one, I believe, in the summary it says 18. different times. 18 different times to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So practically, he converts him to a Vaishnav. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya converts Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to a Vaishnav. So we'll just read a few verses. I'm just testing all of you, make sure you're not sleeping. So yes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu converted Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to a Vaishnav. Yeah. So I'll just read a few verses from that chapter. We're starting Madhya Lila, chapter 6, text 236. After speaking to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to his residence. From that day on, the Bhattacharya was free because his false pride had been dismantled. From that day on, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya did not know anything but the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and from that day he could explain the revealed scriptures only in accordance with the process of devotional service. Seeing that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was firmly fixed in the cult of Vaishnavism, Gopinathacharya, his brother-in-law, began to dance, clap his hands, and chant, Hari, Hari. The next day, the Bhattacharya went to visit the temple of Lord Jagannath, but before he reached the temple, he went to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he met Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Bhattacharya fell down flat to offer him respects. After offering various prayers to him, he spoke of his previous bad disposition with great humility. Then the Bhattacharya asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu which item is most important in the execution of devotional service. The Lord replied that the most important item was the taking of prasadam. No, he didn't say that. The Lord replied that the most important item was the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam Kalau Nasteva Nasteva Gatiranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. There's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. So everybody should learn to like chanting if they want to be delivered. Apparently it's the only way. Said 3 times. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very elaborately explained the Hare Nama verse of the Brihanaradiya Purana, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was struck with wonder to hear his explanation. Gopinath Acharya reminded Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, My dear Bhattacharya, what I foretold to you has now taken place. Offering his obeisance to Gopinath Acharya, the Bhattacharya said, Because I am related to you, and you are a devotee, by your mercy the Lord has shown mercy to me. Which is an interesting point because there is mention of that in Scripture that whatever we do, for those who we are karmically connected to in relation to our biological families, they're benefited by. So it's not that you're just benefiting. It's not that we're just benefiting ourselves, but parents. So many are benefited by Krishna consciousness. You are a first-class devotee, whereas I am in the darkness of logical arguments. Because of your relationship with the Lord has bestowed His benediction upon me. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased with this humble statement. See, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is saying because of Gopinath Acharya's relationship with you, I am getting the mercy. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, actually Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he quotes in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, in a purport, a song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And in that song, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes that he will go to a Vaishnava with a straw in his teeth, and he will offer his prostrated obeisances to that Vaishnava, and he will state his fallen condition. And that Vaishnav, that great Vaishnav, upon hearing this, will take mercy on that person and will pray to Krishna to deliver that person. And because that person is so connected to Krishna, Krishna will surely deliver that person. Krishna will give that person mercy. So when we say, Prabhu, please pray for me, it shouldn't be a superficial thing. It's actually a very deep thing, if properly understood and acted on. After visiting the temple of Lord Jagannath, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya returned home with Jagadananda and Damodar. The Bhattacharya brought large quantities of excellent food remnants, blessed by Lord Jagannath. All this prasadam was given to his own Brahmin servant, along with Jagadananda and Damodar. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then composed 2 verses on the leaf of a palm tree. Giving the palm leaf to Jagadananda Prabhu, the Bhattacharya requested him to deliver it to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they delivered it to him. And the verse is, there's 2. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shikshartam Eka Purusha Parana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradari Kripambudir Yastam Aham Prapadye. Let me take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, who is descended in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach us real knowledge. His devotional service and detachment for whatever does not foster Krishna consciousness. He has descended because he is in an ocean of transcendental mercy. Let me surrender into his lotus feet. And then he has another one. Let my consciousness, which is just like a honeybee, take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has just now appeared as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach the ancient system of devotional service to himself. This system had almost been lost due to the influence of time. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he writes that these 2 verses composed by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya will always declare his name and fame as loudly as a pounding drum, for they have become pearl necklaces around the necks of all the devotees. Yeah. Sometimes, like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes about Harinam Chintamani, the book he wrote, says that the devotees will consider this book as valuable as life itself, something like that. It was like life itself. I mean, I read that partially one time, but it's interesting sometimes what's stated about certain verses and the importance of them, and how sometimes we don't understand that. Indeed, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became an unalloyed devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He did not know anything but the service of the Lord. The Bhattacharya always chanted the holy name of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, son of Mother Shachi, and reservoir of all good qualities. Indeed, chanting the holy names became his meditation. One day, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya came before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After offering obeisances, began to recite a verse. He began to quote one of Lord Brahma's prayers from Srimad Bhagavatam, but he changed 2 syllables at the end of the verse. Tate nukampam sushamikshamano bunjana evatmakritam vipakam hridvagvapur bir vidadam namaste jivetuyo bhakti pade sadaya bhak. So he changed it from mukti to bhakti. So bhakti pade was what was put in, not mukti pade. One who seeks your compassion and thus tolerates all kinds of adverse conditions due to the karma of his past deeds, who engages always in your devotional service with his mind, words, and body, and who is always offering obeisances unto you, is certainly a bona fide candidate for becoming your unalloyed devotee. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he asked him, the verse said Mukti Pade, but you've changed it to Bhakti Pade. Says, what is your intention? So does anyone remember what Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't even stand to hear the word Bhakti anymore.
Did everybody get that? Online? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said that I've changed this because I cannot tolerate hearing about mukti. So he was so attached to impersonal liberation. But now, just hearing it, he becomes disgusted. But again, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this mukti pade could refer to Krishna or Mukunda, the giver of liberation. Doesn't have to necessarily mean liberation. So this was the conversion of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Quite amazing, actually. And Srila Prabhupada writes in the Nectar of Devotion that this particular verse should be the guide of all devotees. He explains that a devotee shouldn't expect immediate relief from the reactions of his past misdeeds, because no conditioned soul is granted that. And then he says that a devotee who is not perfectly freed from the resultant action should therefore continue to act in Krishna consciousness seriously, even though there may be so many impediments. So in other words, due to our past activities, there might be impediments presently. But a devotee should continue to seriously act in Krishna consciousness and expect Krishna's mercy. And then he writes, that is the only solace. And if a devotee passes his days in such a spirit, then it's certain they are promoted to the abode of Krishna. One becomes Dayabhak, refers to an inheritor or of the property of the father. In a similar way, if a pure devotee is engaged in Krishna consciousness, then it becomes the rightful claim of the kingdom of God. So, Srila Prabhupada writes this should be the guide for all devotees. So, it would be intelligent for us to regularly remember this verse and meditate on its meaning and read the purport and so on. All right. Any questions, comments?
So this verse, at the end of the purport in the 10th canto, what's the number of the verse? 10:1?
Srila Prabhupada, yes, it is 10:14:8.
Yeah, but there's a very important sentence there. Maybe do you have the verse there from Bhagavatam?
I don't have. I just have I have the Nectar Devotion, and
All right.
I don't have a commentary on the verse.
Just give me a second to look at 10:14. What was the number?
8.
Okay. So, if you read the purport, it's a very nice purport composed
Can you
by Vinana Dutta.
speak in the mic?
Okay. So, at the end, just as one cannot approach the sun without becoming fire, one cannot approach the Supreme Lord, Krishna, the Supreme Pure Lord Krishna, without undergoing a rigid purificatory process which may appear like suffering, but which is in fact a curative treatment administered by the personal hand of the Lord.
Nice.
Now, Bhajan Ram Maharaj often refers to that last sentence as, I think he's, because I mean his condition is so difficult, but he's taking shelter in this verse and in this sentence that whatever suffering is there is actually Krishna's purification, because it's due to our past misdeeds, and we're getting some punishment, but it's purifying for us. Kunti also has the same thing with let me feel these dangers again and again, because we see you again and again. So it's a way of actually navigating through this world where at any time sufferings great and small may come upon us, but we may see them, oh, this is Krishna's mercy. It should have been much worse, but I'm just getting something that I can deal with, and I can see it as His mercy of purifying me. So then you see it positively, and not like in the Western religion say, oh, I go to church every week and this happened to me. I still got cancer. There's no God, that type of thing. No, I think this is purification.
You have a question?
I just had a question about this. I get the concept of this is my house and this is my land, but this concept of this is my family. I was just wondering, is there like a is there like a healthy concept, like is there like a healthy like false idea or like a false ego, like in order to perform my duty like the best that I can, this is my family, I want to be a good father, and like kind of
yeah. Madan Gopal Prabhu was mentioning that recently when he was here, quoting a purport in the Bhagavad Gita where Srila Prabhupada explains that that affection's natural, affection for family is natural, but one shouldn't be, one shouldn't think I am this body and this family is like mine in a possessive, controlling sense. So one should be detached, but again, our process of detachment means to have Krishna in the center, and it's natural to have some type of affection amongst each other, family members or friends or whoever. But again, we just have to be careful about that. Recently I was speaking with one devotee, and he was explaining to me how in his astrological chart, which he accepts as affecting his life in some way, at least telling him something about himself, which he sees in himself. But he was explaining how by nature, or at least by astrological readings, it's very difficult for him to be happy in family life. But guess what? He's in family life. And guess what? He has, 2 young children. Practically he was realizing that it's not really his nature to find much happiness in it. And I was saying, isn't that difficult for you? Like, don't you find that challenging? And he said, yeah, I feel like I have to kind of put an extra endeavor and kind of put on a little bit of a show, in a sense. So his wife and children don't think that they don't like him, like he doesn't like him or something. So he said it's a little challenging. And he said he feels his wife also has that sense, So how does that relate to your question? Do you see how it relates? How does it relate? Yeah.
you just gotta externally show affection, but internally kind of become detached over time.
That sounds really cold.
Somebody asked Gorgovinda Swami the same thing, and he said, "Of course, yeah." Because she was asking that, she said, "How is that right? That seems wrong." he said, he started laughing. He said, yeah, it's true. That's the way you do it.
But it sounds really cold. What do you say about that? Anyways, it's whether one is in family life and they naturally feel that, naturally feel attraction and affection and attachment, or whether they're like this devotee I was mentioning, they do have a duty to take care of their family, and they do have a duty to show some affection. That it's their duty, whether it comes easy or not. That's their duty. They have to show that affection. Yeah. So those are some points. Any other thing?
Just make a comment on that. I think we can take instruction from some model families that we know, beginning with Prabhupada's family, certainly his father, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and the way Prabhupada enthused and instructed his household of devotees. Because if you really, basically all of us are supposed to see ourselves as part of the human family, and that we have a relation with everyone because we're all children of God, and that we can show our affection, we can show our feeling of humanity by trying to give them Krishna consciousness. And that holds also for the small family. How Prabhupada's father insisted, his mother wanted to send him to England to become a lawyer. And he said, no, he's going to become a servant of Radharani, and I'm going to teach him the Mridanga. He taught him the Mridanga and everything else, gave him the Rathayatra and everything. And Prabhupada mentions that often, And also, of course, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, all of his children, 14 children, But he was a paragon of Krishna consciousness, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati saw a great opportunity to teach him and train him in devotional service, which is the greatest affection. Otherwise, you're just spreading Maya, which will lead to suffering. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah, family life, Krishna has to be in the center, and like you mentioned, Sankarshan, okay, how are we supposed to understand this? That we're supposed to be detached from family life, but okay, if you're in it, again, it's a duty to show affection, but Krishna should be the center. And it seems that in a lot of cases, men, I don't know, I haven't studied it in great depth or something, but it seems like a lot of men are criticized for not showing their care and affection in different ways. Like Srila Prabhupada said, he said, family life, you have to buy jewelry for your wife, for example. You have to buy saris. You have to buy saris, you have to buy jewelry, you have to do these things. You can't just think, well, I don't really care about, I'm not going to buy any dhotis and this and that for myself, so why should I for my wife? You have to. It's a sign of, right, Ramapati? Right? You have to. Or Guru Krishna, right? You have to, right? All right, Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.